2x72 belt grinder that you see sitting here to my right. This is the belt grinder that I use in my knife making process, and it's one that I built a couple of years ago, so it's a custom built one based on my specifications, and I have multiple attachments that I built with it in addition to just the table that you see here. So I'll take the camera and I'll walk around and I'll talk about its construction and some of its capabilities and features and why I built it the way I did, and then I'll try to demonstrate a few of the attachments that I've built, and hopefully you can use these ideas that I've come up with if you're planning to build your own belt grinder 2x72. You know, maybe this will save you some money or give you some ideas or some inspirations for something you can do on your own. Let's take a look. So we'll take a closer look at the belt grinder now, and I'll go over some of its features. Basically, the entire belt grinder is built out of square tubing, 2x2 inch, 1/8 inch wall, and 1 3/4, 1/8 inch wall square tubing. So as you can see, I've designed it so that it can be portable. It's just mounted to a 3/16 plate on the bottom with 2 uprights, and I've got the whole thing basically clamped to my table, so I can take it off here and move it to another table if I want. Again, it's on a portable cart. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know that I like to make things portable because I'm working out of a garage. So it has a platen in front, fully adjustable for up to 45 degrees of travel each way, with a flat table, which is also reversible so that it can go on the side, and I'll demonstrate that in a moment. The belt tension is spring loaded from inside the tubing. Basically, you pull straight down on the handle to release the tension on the belt, and you can quick change the belts. The entire belt grinder also swivels and rotates 90 degrees over on its side. And again, the table here, I can pull that off using the knob here. I can loosen that. I'll try to do that one-handed. Pull that off, rotate, tighten it back down, and now I have a flat surface to do side belt grinding. If I need to get more height, I can always lay another piece of steel on top of this or a block of wood to get up to the appropriate grinding height that I need. So I'll switch that back now. Rotate it back up. On the back, you can see that I'm using a treadmill motor to drive this. I'm using a treadmill motor because I had one on hand. I didn't want to spend the money for an expensive, 230, 40 volt motor, plus the driver, the VFD to make that possible to use. So I modified this and reused this treadmill motor and built this custom pulley assembly here with some pillow blocks and 5/8 rod to drive the belt and the pulley on the side for the drive. I'm using a variable speed control from the treadmill as well. I've got an off-on switch and variable speed there. Looking on the other side here, just to give you an idea of how it's built, the motor itself, I can control the belt tension by running on that all thread. I've got nuts on either side of the motor mount there, and I can drive that motor in and out by twisting the nuts and locking it in place. Grease zerks on the pillow blocks, obviously, to keep it greased. And the tracking mechanism is built just like any other 2x72 grinder, so I can control the belt tracking for the grinder. Pretty simple layout. The motor itself, some people I've seen in other posts and other videos, people question the use of treadmill motors because they can pull the metal dust into the motor itself and burn the motor out. I've been using this motor for about 2 years now, and I've not had any problems with it. I do keep a coffee filter cover over the openings to keep metal fibers or metal dust from going in. If this motor ever burns out, I will just replace it with a standard 2 or 3 horse belt grinder motor and the control sets. Everything on the back here is designed to come off. So up underneath up underneath here is a bolt and a nut that holds this entire unit in place. So if I ever wanted to swap this out for a conventional motor, I'll just reach underneath here, unloosen the nut, take the belt off, and the whole assembly will come off. And I could put another assembly or mount for a different kind of motor if I want to. So that's kind of it. I will fire it up now and show you, basically how it operates. So to turn this unit on, I'll just flip the switch on, turn the speed controller on, and we hit motor takes off, and we got a belt grinder. And of course it's variable speed. I can crank it up. I can crank it up or control the speed, so crank it up all the way, for fast grinding. Turn the speed down like when I'm grinding knife bevels and those types of things at a slower speed, so I can control the rate of how much material I'm removing. So now I'm going to switch over and I'll show you some of the other attachments I've built, and you can kind of get an idea of some of its other capabilities. So I've pulled off the flat table and put it on the side here on the floor, and I've put on my tilt table that I built. Now this tilt table will work with the flat platen, which you see here, and I also have a 8-inch contact wheel that it'll also work with. This tilt table is adjustable up and down, in and out, and it also has a 180-degree rotation out on the bottom there, adjustment of angle. So if I wanted to raise this table up, I would loosen this knob, slide it up or down. If I need to go in or out for distance, I can loosen this knob and slide it in and out. Or if I want to adjust the tilt, I loosen the 2 bolts, adjust it where I want, and get the angle set, and then tighten them back down. I use this to put bevels on knife blades, and for grinding any other kind of bevel. I can also use with an adapter plate to slide over this for small knife blades, like pocket knives and things of that nature. So this table works pretty well for that. Again, I designed that and built it so that it would work with my grinder. If you have any questions about the tilt table, just put it in the comments. So here's just my 8-inch contact wheel, which I can use, for bevel, concave grinding. Just your standard wheel. And I can also use that wheel with other attachments. So here's my flat surface grinding attachment. I use this to get, after I've got a knife blade formed, either forged out or I've done stock removal and got the contour of the blade. Now I want to make sure that it's flat, and to get any mill scale or anything like that off of the blade, this is the surface grinder that I built to go work with my 8-inch wheel attachment here. So basically I've got it in the vertical position right now. Got a handle on the bottom here, reach up, and I can go up and down, back and forth, up and down if I want to, to do grinding. It has adjustments for left and right here. So I have a lock knob here, just loosen that. And then I've got an adjustment here to go left or right to adjust it and align it with the wheel. And then for distance, the same thing. For going in and out to adjust the contact against the wheel, I've got a lock knob right here and an adjustment right here, so I can turn this and it'll run the magnetic surface in and out. So let me tilt it on its side. This is normally how I use it. I usually run it on its side like this, and I stand on the back side here. The belt is rotating this direction away from me. And I usually, will put my metal stock right here, and then I'll sit here and I'll run this in and out like this. So the base of this is made off of 1/2-inch aluminum plate that I just milled out, bought magnets and epoxied those in place. And I made it so that this was removable for this 1/2-inch by 2-inch piece here. That's a foot long. It's held on with 2 screws. I can back those screws off, take this out. I can replace the magnets or replace it with a wider piece if I want to. So I made it so that I wouldn't have to replace the entire unit if something got damaged or if these magnets came out. It's easily repairable or replaceable that way. So when I built this surface grinder, one of the things that I did to make sure that the platen for the magnets here was square against the grinding belt is that when I milled this out, I actually milled out a little deeper than I needed to and epoxied the magnets in and left excess epoxy on the surface here. I actually epoxied the entire surface of this piece of aluminum. Then I put on a very fine grit. I think I put on like a 320 grit grinding belt and barely made contact with the surface and slowly ground all the epoxy off until I got down to the aluminum and just barely kissed the aluminum with the belt. That way everything, even though this mount may not be perfectly square against the wheel, the surface of the platen is square against the wheel. That way I can ensure that it's square and I get an even grind on both sides. So I did that to make sure that everything's square and flush and I get good grinds. So if you have any questions about this attachment around the surface grinder, again, put it in the comments. So here I'll demonstrate the tracking of the belt. I just put this belt back on after changing an attachment. So I turn the unit on. You can see that the belt is tracking a little off center. So all I will do now is loosen the set screw. And I've got the tracking on the platen is a little too far over. So I'll go back the other direction just a little bit. And now we have it pretty much centered on the platen a little bit more. And now it's running pretty good. So now we're tracking well on the belt, everything's centered. We're centered on the idler at the top, centered on the drive at the back, and centered on the platen and the wheels in the front. Now this grinding attachment is another bevel grinding attachment, but it's made for smaller knives. As you can see, it's similar to the tilt table. I can adjust this for angle in and out. I've got it loose right now so I can adjust it just to show you how it works. Again, I can pull this whole unit in or out, up or down. And then I have fine adjustment here with this knob so that I can approach the belt and barely make contact or back that off and adjust the angle. So if I'm doing like a pocket knife or something like that and I want to get a very, a slight angle, like, a 20-degree angle or something like that on the cutting edge itself, or to do bevels, I can do it more aggressive. I can use this to fine tune that. The way this works is you take a piece of stock or your knife, the knife blade that you've got contoured, and since this is aluminum, it won't bite into the aluminum, it won't dull the edge, but you can lay the blade in there and then pull it out and gently work it through back and forth through that slot. And as you can see, it'll tilt and go into the blade at an angle and make contact. So I use this for very fine, small work on very small knife blades. If you have any questions on this attachment, again, put it in the comments. One other thing I forgot to mention about this attachment is if I want to get more aggressive angles with this attachment, I will rotate the platen. I'll loosen the platen here on the back side and I will rotate the platen either forward or backwards to give me more angle and more travel, along with adjusting underneath with the attachment itself. That way I can get really aggressive angles if I want, or get very fine angles depending on what I'm doing. Okay, the last attachment I want to show you is my small wheel attachment here. Again, it's another custom attachment I built. Obviously, I bought the small wheel adapter online, but then I built the arm and the mount to get that on here, and the idler pulley to take up tension there. So this works really well. Obviously, you just loosen the belt off and change out the small wheel attachment pulley to whatever size you want. And if I want, I can also add my table or other attachments to get in for closer grinds. But for these small areas where you're wanting to get a real small grind in place, the small wheel attachment works really well. Anybody with a 2x72 belt grinder should have one. All right, that pretty much concludes an overview of my belt grinder. I've shown you all the custom attachments I've built so far. The only other attachment that I may build is another bevel attachment to help with the bevel lines on grinding. I haven't built that yet, but that's another one I'm looking at building. So if you have questions about the grinder itself, put it in the comments. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. And again, this thing, I've been using it for about 2 years now. I've made several knives with it. Works well. Total cost to build this, I probably have no more than $200 or $300 into it between the steel and some of the parts that I bought. Very, very cheap alternative solution than buying a $1,500, $2,500, commercially built 2x72 grinder. Not saying there's anything wrong with those, but if you're on a budget like I am, building your own equipment can save you a lot of time and give you some enjoyment as well if you like doing that type of thing. So again, any questions, put them in the comments. If not, thanks again for watching.